All right, what's good in the hood? UFC 328. It's got its main event, Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. In this video, I'm going to take my 2 cents, give my opinion. If you enjoy the video, give me a like. If you really enjoyed it, give me a subscribe. I'm going to be covering some more stuff in the coming days. But yeah, without further ado, this was a rumored fight, and it felt like they, despite the fact that Nasruddin Ivanov was the #1 contender for the last, was a few months, it felt like UFC, they wanted to see how some of the upcoming fights played out, and lo and behold, Sean Strickland, you can hate him, you can love him. He did his job. He got a finish. He got a finish against Fluffy, killed his winning streak, and he came out healthy because clearly enough, he's willing to take not a quick turnaround, but it's quick enough. He's fighting in, May? So in 7 weeks? But fans got to recognize, regardless if you think Strickland has a winning chance, which the odds are suggesting he's going to be even a bigger underdog than when he beat Izzy that, years back down under. This fight is more going to be about the buildup. And that's something that, as a fight fan, I think it's been lost in the last few years. And regardless of your opinion of these two men and what you think about when trash talk goes too far, it makes for good entertainment. It makes for good sound bites, clips, etc. TikTok, X, Instagram. It's part of the sport, for better or worse. There's going to be moments where you're going to appreciate a Volkanovski versus Islam, where it's just all about fucking skill and who's the better man. But a lot of times it's about some bad blood, some trash talk. And this one doesn't even feel like it's about who's better, but there's elements to that. I'm going to jump in because there's a lot of elements to unpack. First things first, these boys have trained. This picture's a few years back, but these boys have trained in the same gym. They've had similar training partners. Hell, they've trained together. And that's actually a good baseline for developing, as I call it, a blood feud. Is I think back to one of the nastiest blood feuds, one of the nastiest feuds in general in recent memory, Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington. In their context, they were both American top team. Colby ended up leaving for one reason or another. He may have been hooking up with some women, may have been getting hit on by, as he claimed, some lesbians. Joanna, she's nice, looking real nice with bangs recently. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the big presets for this blood feud, was the fact that they were former training partners. They were former roommates, so a lot closer than Hamza and Sean. But it was nice because they both had that ego of they had both gotten the better of the other one in training, and they felt like they each had the tools to, show that on the big stage. Naturally, Colby got the job done. But it's interesting because Sean and Hamza have trained, and they've actually both recently and in the past, they both given their 2 cents when it's brought up. Now that, Hamza was on the rise, Sean was a champion at one point. Now Hamza's the champion. So there was always, the questions of, you guys have fought in the past. You've done training in the past. Who got the better of the better? And this is what Hamza had said. This, I believe, was ages ago, but it's still relevant. We've done our work in the gym together, and if they offer him to me, if I can fight him for the belt, that's what I'll do. I think that if you compare us on a skill level, I'm levels above him. Levels. I'm in a whole different stratosphere from him, so he's not a threat to me. I believe this must have been around the time when Sean was the champ and was getting ready to fight DDP. Hamza obviously was going from welterweight to middleweight, did his thing, destroyed Robert. So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty, for what Hamza usually types, I will give it to him. It was pretty straightforward. He thinks he's better than him. Sean made a lot more bold claims, and this is coming a few weeks ago. Everything from being Chimaev being a bully to making him quit, which is kind of bananas to say. I made him quit. Witnesses in the audience. Where's Sean Strickland? Where's Eric Nixon at? I made him quit. No, we're doing positional grappling. All right, start on my back. I was like, first round, to let him fucking choke me because no one gives a fuck. Long story short, to summarize, essentially, he called him a bitch. He said that this guy would bully and try to pick the weakest guy to compete. He looks like my opponent. He would pick the smallest guy. Chimaev's a fucking bully. So there's that element. He's coming at Chimaev as a character, and the guy that, tries to keep his ego in check by, fighting guys that are smaller, that are, not at his level, etc. And I believe Strickland in the sense that he says he goes out of his way to spar with the biggest, baddest MFs that are around, and he sees them, he goes, I want to spar you. I actually believe that. I think Strickland is by no means a coward. I think he is happy to get his ass beaten just to see how he holds up. But it's very interesting because Strickland's making claims that he made him quit. He made him quit essentially by getting the guy tired, overworking him, getting him frustrated. And I believe all that stuff. And he cites even things, and this is a great fight to go watch, back on with Gilbert Burns. a guy that he said that he's had interaction with. He said that Gilbert Burns essentially, did the job and fucked him up, and he's only 5'8", which is partially true. He hit him with one of the nastiest, I believe, was it twos, left hook that we'd ever seen. Only time Hamza had been ever, really rocked and dropped. Got his head spun around. So he does make some good points. Like Strickland does have his homework in the sense that, hey, like, he knows what he's slightly talking about, but that's only one side of the coin. This is the classic competition element of they've trained in the past. They're going to talk shit about, what they saw behind closed doors, which I don't always agree with. I think you should keep that behind closed doors, but clearly these two are going to, they're going to bring it out during the presser, especially if there was interesting shit that happened in the sense of we know Hamzat submitted Sean and Sean doesn't deny it, but Hamzat really hasn't admitted to this element of, did he make him quit training? I don't know what he means by that. My guess is maybe, eventually Hamzat got tired or Hamzat wasn't constantly, submitting him in positional grappling. Sean was showing some resistance. It makes Hamzat look bad because when we see him actually at the UFC, no one resists him. Only a few guys like Gilbert Burns have really, and obviously Usman. Those are only two guys that come to mind that actually showed resistance and actually offense against him. But like I said, the other side of the coin is we get ads popping up is this. If you know, and I don't keep a huge update on this, and now he's in the Middle East, so I think he's distancing himself a little bit, at least geographically, for, safety purposes. But he's been hanging around with the Chechen dictator for ages now. I mean, for God's sakes, he wins the belt, and there's fucking pictures floating around of this motherfucker and his son, his fat fucking dictator lookalike son, holding the belt, carrying the belt, parading around. The joke was like, what, Hamza didn't have the belt after when he gave, like, they just like loaned it and like took it from him. But you get my point. I mean, this is a guy that, for background purposes and obviously religion purposes and this and that, and who knows how far it goes, he's been having an informal alliance with these fellas for a while. Although a couple MMA guys like Cejudo, I think, have gone out there. So it's not unheard of. But yeah, it's not something that's like, I would say you want to flaunt, but he has flaunted it. Now he's a little different because he goes to the Middle East. But Sean doesn't shy away from it. I mean, Sean goes right at him. Here's a nice, lovely tweet. Sean, an excellent poet with his word choice. I love how the world just overlooks this guy's past, builds a life in Sweden, goes and becomes best friends with an absolute monster who pretty much bought him like a W. Then when the leash got too tight, he fled to the Middle East. You should not be allowed in this country. You sold your soul. Come on, Sean, get that grammar in there. You sold your soul to a terrorist dictator. You're not compatible with America. Thank God we don't do drone strikes in that part of the sandpit. Oh boy. Sick of the UFC forgetting it's an American company. Laugh my ass off, now buy a crypto scam with my name on it. Yeah, I mean, Sean, I can't speak on other countries because I'm American myself, but I feel like Sean, even though he's actually now gearing away from his, like, now he's attacking, he's not as conservative as we thought he was with some of his opinions. But the point being, as he is outspoken with his thoughts, he doesn't give a shit what people think. And he's going right at Chimaev. He's going right at this guy's, paper trail. He doesn't give a F, and we know when he has a mic, he's gonna do the same goddamn thing. And I'm ready to love that shit. I mean, I hope it doesn't get like, I don't want to say it gets too nasty, because like, they're not gonna go, I don't think, too much into religion, family. It feels like it's just gonna go at his ties with dictators, quitting in the gym. Chimaev's gonna come at Sean's character. I don't think he'll go much at his family. So I feel like it's just gonna come at just a barking match with Sean being probably a little louder and a little less invested, I think, is the case. It feels like Sean's going to be doing this to poke the buttons of Chimaev more than Chimaev's poking the buttons of Sean. But again, looking back history-wise, I'm getting some eerie... this one was obviously nasty, and it was going more on the family religion side of this. But if you recall, Khabib was pretty reserved for the most part. Obviously, he was not reserved when he's vaulting cages. But Conor was the offensive when it came on the mic. He was dropping the bombs. Khabib was trying to be as, respectful as possible, and even left early, I think, on one of those pressers because Conor was late. I feel like it's going to be the roles reversed. The American Sean, he's going to be in the offense. He's going to be the Conor in this situation. Well, not, what am I saying? The roles reversed. The roles are the same, pretty much. Irish versus American. Sean's going to be at him. The difference is Khabib was very good, I think, at containing himself, at least till he got to fight night. Chimaev, oh my God. Chimaev, Gilbert Burns was riling up. The fact that Gilbert Burns can rile you up just by the way you were like talking, he was just like shitting on his like poor English at the time. Said he couldn't understand him, and then Chimaev got all raging and starts like screaming and shit. And he's done that obviously a lot since then. Ian Gary, any guy seems to be able to ruffle his feathers. Supposedly a guy in an airport almost got beat up. I don't even know the full story of that. Of Chimaev almost scrapped with a guy in an airport, probably because the guy was like sniffing him or something. But yeah, I don't think this will surpass Conor versus Khabib, but it might surpass just on actual chaos, if you know what I mean. Dana's already hinted at the fact that he's going to need extra security, which is a given. And they probably won't even do a full presser. They might just do a 1-1 presser because all the questions are going to be directed at these two anyways. No one's going to be asking fucking Joe Schmo, what do you think about your opponent? They're going to be asking these dudes political questions. And I'm going to love every moment of it. I just hope, and I doubt this will happen, I hope that they don't have to either like cancel the presser if teams start beefing, because Chimaev's team is just like Nate Diaz's and the Khabib's team, where they all seem to be willing to scrap behind closed doors, you know, in the back area because people are throwing water balls. My only concern is that Dana has to like qualm a lot of this, and maybe it's because also Paramount's not going to be a fan of when it starts getting a little nasty, especially with things like US and Iran going on. But assuming that they have full clearance and no mics are getting snipped like they did last time with Strickland, I think this is going to be very entertaining. I'll give my actual full take on the fight and my prediction, because I think the fight should be pretty straightforward to predict. Chimaev by decision is probably the safest bet. I also could see a submission because Sean will be actually trying to get up on like DDP and expose his neck. But you never know. I mean, Sean is underrated with his takedown defense, and Chimaev, if he gets tired and can't do what he did with DDP to Sean, he might get fatigued by round 3 or 4. And we know Sean has the potential to do damage output. Just go watch his fight with DDP the first round. He gets that jab going, your face is messed up. And even with Chimaev rocking a big fat beard, that chin is still going to get cracked a little bit here and there. But I think it's a foregone conclusion. Let me know what you think. Do you have any hope for Sean? Are you nervous about the fight buildup? What do you want to see in this fight buildup? And yeah, give me a sub if you got any sort of insight or giggles out of me. Hopefully talk soon, and keep an eye out for new videos later in the week.